Hello everybody, my name is Jacqueline Newlands and I will be presenting my media presentation for ACR204 Assessment 1 on the crimes and the subsequent hanging of the serial murderer Frederick Deeming on May 23rd, 1892. Now, before I get into the key area of this assignment, I'll give a quick overview of who Deeming was and what his crimes consisted of. Deeming was born in Kent, England on the 30th of July, 1853. Now, not much is known about Deeming's earlier life other than that he ran away at age 16, embarking on a long career of crime under many false aliases, particularly relating to theft and obtaining money via false pretences. In July of 1891, he brutally murdered his wife and 4 children in Rainhill, England. He smashed their skulls, slit their throats and strangled them to death, after which he buried their bodies under the kitchen floor, covering them with cement. Following this, he travelled to Melbourne, Australia, where he quickly remarried. In December of the same year, he murdered his new wife, again covering her body with cement and burying her under the hearthstone in one of the bedrooms. The following year, a new tenant complained to the owner regarding a terrible smell from the bedroom wherein the body was discovered. After police inquiry, it was discovered that Deeming had purchased a barrel of cement. He was then recognised by neighbours back in England, at which point the bodies of his first wife and children were discovered, leading to his arrest and subsequent execution by hanging on May 23rd, 1892. It is clear from media that Deeming was regarded as a monster in the eyes of the general public, with each report on him and his crimes portraying him as more monster than man. Deeming was likened to a modern Bluebeard character, a folk tale in which a man of pure evil murdered multiple wives. His ability to seemingly go from caring and kind-hearted to cold and callous likened him to a Jacqueline Hyde personality. Newspapers likened his criminal career to that as being so unimaginable that it can only be likened to that of a fictitious story. One that would be considered so unrealistic that even the most imaginative novelist wouldn't even consider writing. A man who had murder perfected down to a fine art. Newspapers of the time recalled in horrific detail the discovery of the bodies of Deeming's wife and children. The language used emphasized the horrendous nature of the crimes and how it was seen by the public, describing the bodies as being huddled and the skulls being smashed in and the throats cut. This use of graphic and detailed language demonized him, indicating just how hated Deeming was, giving insight into the way in which the public of the time viewed murder, particularly in regards to the murder of your own wife and children. Another article furthered this portrayal of Deeming by revealing a conversation in which Deeming had, where he boasts that murder could easily be hidden completely from the police by burying them in quicklime under the flooring inside a house, going as far as to suggest a hearthstone as being the perfect place to hide a body. Given that the public of the time would be well aware of the details of his crime, it is safe to assume that the inclusion of this in the newspaper article was used to further categorize Deeming as being callous killer with no remorse, one who would go as far as to boast about his horrendous criminal acts. The kindest article in regard to Deeming and his crimes was only done so by depicting Deeming as suffering from a brain disease, or being so primitive that he is unable to be classed as sane. This rationalized that either Deeming was insane or he was simply evil. The coverage of the actual hanging of Deeming was described as his shameful end that only partially avenged his horrific crimes. Witnesses of his actual execution claimed that the craven character of this monster was truly brought forward during his execution, describing his woebegone appearance as he anticipated his shameful yet well-deserved fate, describing him as the most callous and cold-blooded murderer of the century. He was said to have come to court looking pleased with himself, smirking and chattering. He was even thought to have slept at one point. Further detailed descriptions of the way in which a lynch mob of hundreds formed around him before the trial, referring to him as a coward, showed the public hatred for Deeming. Through analysis of the media articles of the time, it is clear to see that the media portrayed the victims as being helpless and completely innocent in these crimes, particularly when considering that 4 of his 6 victims were his own children. Deeming, on the other hand, is characterised as a monster of epic proportions, seen as callous and cold, yet manipulative and deceitful in every aspect of his life. It is clear through the use of language that the society of the time found the crimes to be abhorrent and inexcusable, casting him as the murderer of the century. This is perhaps one of the few cases reported at the time that would potentially be reported in the same way today. Today's society would have the same amount of disbelief and shock at the crimes committed by Frederick Deeming. The media of today would portray Deemings in the exact same light that they did in 1892. While many societal values have changed over the years, it is clear that crimes of this nature are still considered to be some of the most heinous. Thank you very much for listening to my analysis of the crimes on Frederick Deeming and how they were portrayed in the society in the late 1800s. I hope you enjoyed my presentation and you found it as interesting and informative as I did. Thank you.